Struggling to get the background vocals to sit right? You're probably overthinking it. Using the simple trick you'll learn in this video, mixing background vocals that sound clear and professional could take under 30 seconds. Rob here from musicianonamission.com, and today I'm excited to share a technique with you that I've used on mixes for some of my biggest clients. It's the easiest, fastest way to mix radio-ready backing vocals without taking time away from other areas of the mix. That's all to come, but first be sure to download the free backing vocal cheat sheet that I put together just for this video that's going to help you to mix backing vocals like a professional in your home studio. Inside you'll find useful tips that you can start using right away, all condensed down into one PDF you can reference when mixing, and these are tips that I've developed after 12 years of doing this. It's completely free, so just head to the link in the description and start improving your mixes today. Now, backing vocals are important. Often they're a vital part of making choruses sound bigger and making a song sound professional and finished and polished. But you need to prioritize, and there are other areas of the mix, like the lead vocal, that are way more important. And when you've got 6 different backing vocal channels, it's easy to spend a lot of time maybe mixing them individually, trying to blend them together. And that's time taken away from other more important areas of the mix. And you definitely don't want to spend anywhere near as long on the backing vocals individually as you would on the lead vocal. Otherwise, you'll never finish your mix. Instead, this is what I recommend. Start by mixing the lead vocal. Once you've got everything else sounding great and you're focusing on the lead vocal and you've got a whole plugin chain going on that, you've applied compression and EQ, create a group bus for your backing vocals, send every single backing vocal part to the same stereo channel. So that might be called an aux bus, a group bus in your DAW. And then what you want to do is just copy across the plugin chain from your lead vocal channel onto the backing vocal group. And then what you're doing is essentially saving so much time and energy by just copying across your vocal chain. And a lot of the time, if you're recording in a home studio, the backing vocals were probably recorded in the same room with the same microphone and maybe even the same vocalist. So you don't need to start from scratch. You can use what you've already got and then copy that across. Now, it's not as simple as that. There's a few more steps involved. So I'm going to jump into Logic now and walk you through this step by step. Here's a mix with 12 backing vocal channels. All of these 12, you can see up to here, are all backing vocals. So to go through and process these individually would take ages. We don't want to do that. So instead, what I've done is created a group bus. So all of these, you can see the output, backing vocals, etc., etc. And that's all going to one channel, this one here, BV. Now the process for doing that is going to depend on your DAW. In Logic, you can literally just highlight these and then you can go to here, bus, click on a bus that's not being used and it'll create a new channel. But what you want is all of your backing vocals going to one stereo channel, which is what we've got here. So let's have a quick listen. Long it goes on, never. So it sounds great, but it sounds kind of muddy. It sounds a bit dull and boring. So instead of going through and just starting from scratch, let's just copy over all of these from the lead vocal channel because these were recorded in the same room, same vocalist, same microphone. So there's no point starting from scratch. And this is the same track. So we're going to want a similar vibe. So let's have a listen now, literally just after copying those across. Long it goes on, never. Sounding much better already, and it's that simple. But of course, we need to do more than just copy these across. The first thing you want to do is just go through and check there's nothing weird going on. So any compressors, limiters, that kind of stuff, we want to check that they're not being slammed really hard. So we've got a limiter here. Long it goes on, never. That's not really doing anything. I don't feel like we need it, so I'm just going to get rid of that. And then we've got a compressor here, so let's just check the gain reduction. Long it goes on, never. Cool. So it's sitting pretty normal. So then we can move on to the next step, which is to open up the EQ. Now I've got 2 different EQs here, and this is how I generally approach EQ. My first one is more of a surgical EQ to remove any nastiness. So here I'm notching out 800 Hertz, which was a bit of a room resonance that didn't sound great, and reducing some of the muddiness around 200 Hertz. So I don't want to change that. That's great because these were recorded in the same room, so I can just use the same settings there. But I've got a second EQ here, which is more of a tonal EQ. So you can see on the lead vocal, I was actually boosting 1.4 kilohertz by 2 dB. Now, if I left this here, the backing vocals are now being boosted at exactly the same frequency. So then they're going to start to compete with the lead vocal. So instead, all I'm going to do, and this is the next step, is reverse the EQ. So instead of boosting 2 dB here, I'm just going to cut 2 dB. And now what we're doing is moving the backing vocals out the way of the vocal so that these background vocal parts aren't interfering. So great, we've done that. And then what we can do, the next step, because we need more dynamic consistency here, is to apply more compression. On the lead vocal channel, it's worth going through and using automation to get the level of consistency that you want, bringing down the loudest words, bringing up the quiet words. Whereas on a backing vocal, especially when we've got 12 different channels going on, that's going to take way too long. So instead, because these are sitting a bit further back in the mix, they're kind of tucked underneath the lead vocal, we can just use more compression. It's not going to sound weird and it's not going to be too noticeable. So I'm just going to adjust the threshold now until I'm seeing 5 to 10 dB of gain reduction, and then I'm just going to adjust the makeup gain to compensate as well so that it's the same volume coming out.
Long it goes on, never know how long this goes on, never know how long it goes on, never.
So without compression, it sounds a bit wild and all over the place.
Long it goes on, never.
But then when we bring this in, everything becomes a bit more cohesive and it sounds like one unit.
Long it goes on, never know.
Cool. And then the next step, what we can do is increase or speed up the attack time on the compressor as well. Because with a lead vocal, you don't want to use a fast attack time, because what that does is it dulls the transients and puts the vocal further back in the mix. But with the backing vocals, that's actually desirable. We want to kind of put them a bit further away from the listener, stop them from poking out too much. So we can use a really fast attack time. So just change the attack time on the compressor to the fastest it'll go. And now let's compare. So this is with slow.
Long it goes on, never.
And then with fast.
Long it goes on, never.
So it just sounds a bit thicker, but it also sounds a bit less pokey. So that's pretty much it. We've reversed the EQ, we've added more compression, and we've sped up the attack time. Let's listen in the context of the mix now. So this is with no processing.
Long it goes on, never. I'll never know how long it goes on, never.
Now let's bring this in.
Long it goes on, never. I'll never know how long it goes on, never.
So at this point you want to decide, is that enough or do you need to do more? And normally you're going to have to add some reverb, so we can just send this to the room bus. And that's going to put them a bit further back in the mix as well.
Long it goes on, I'll never know how long it goes.
And now they sound a bit too muddy still, so I'm going to adjust this slightly. I'm going to cut a bit more around 300. I'm actually going to add another EQ here, and I'm going to boost the upper mids around 5K just to bring them out a bit more in the mix.
Long it goes on, I'll never know how long.
Now we're getting there. I'm pretty much happy with that. But those first few steps of copying everything over and then reversing the EQ and just increasing the compression and speeding it up a bit is often enough. And that takes under 30 seconds. And then from that point, you just need to decide how important are the background vocals in this track? Do I need to spend more time and attention there? So that's it. Just to recap quickly, you want to create a group bus from your backing vocals, copy everything over from the lead vocal channel, reverse the EQ, increase the compression, speed up the compression a bit, and then add any finishing touches. Now, that was quite a lot to take in. And even though this is a pretty quick technique, there are quite a few steps involved. So I put together a free cheat sheet for you to download and follow in your next mix, and you can use it as a reference to make sure you get this right. And when you do that and you follow this step by step, it's going to help you to produce and mix radio ready, professional sounding backing vocals in under a minute. And that's the great thing here. We're saving a lot of time so we can then focus on the things that matter so that you can improve your mixes and make sure you make amazing music. So head to the description to download that. It's completely free. And I think you'll really enjoy it. But either way, thanks for listening. I'm Rob from musicianonamission.com, and I'll see you next time.